Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming this morning. We're going to start off. Vicky's going to, or Commissioner Lyman's going to give us our opening prayer, then I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful that we could be here today, and we're thankful for all the many blessings that Thou hast given us. And we're especially thankful for the precipitation that we've been receiving, and we ask to continue to receive the amount that we'll need to sustain our needs. And we're so thankful that we can live here in this great country and in this state and this county where we live. And we're thankful for the people that are willing to serve and try to help this county as much as possible. And we're grateful for the citizens and the great people that live here in this county. And we ask you to watch over us this day and to help us make good decisions and help us to be able to explain our thoughts and understand what others are wanting to tell us. And we ask you to bless us in all the many ways that we need thy help. These blessings we ask and help for in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody have, we'll go to approval of the minutes for May 6th, 2025. Any changes?
There's a change on line 59. We're just correcting the rate of lieutenant benefits. Page 3, line 59, to be lieutenant, not sergeant.
Anything else?
Nothing else. I'll move we approve the minutes of what date?
May 6th.
May 6th, 2025, with the changes been noted.
I'll second that motion.
All,
So sorry, I have one change.
Oh, wait, we'll take that back.
All right, I will
Table.
rescind my motion.
Thank you, sorry. My only change is on line 61, it said communication. It's supposed to be procurement. I don't know if you're in that page. 61, sorry. And that was because the amount of the bidder service was not over 75,000, and the sheriff's office went through the electronic or telecom bid process, and the proposed vendor was the lowest bid.
now I got a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes of May 6th with the corrections that has been made.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any follow-up items from May 6th? Okay, discussion and possible approval of charging a set rate for municipality election contracts.
So determining the cost of, the actual cost of each municipality's election and dividing it up between those municipalities are very time consuming, and there's bigger issues, more important issues that we need to focus on during the election. So I would like to propose a base charge shared by all municipalities who have an election, plus a cost per voter. And this will help me accurately give a cost estimate to municipalities, plus be able to accurately charge, easily charge for our services when we contract with them to run their elections.
So what have you did before, just the cost per voter?
Yeah, I broke
And so
it
you,
down.
what you're
No, I
changing
didn't-
is
I
putting a
didn't do
base?
cost per voter. I did an actual cost.
You just
So I had
actual
to
cost,
pull
okay.
every invoice, calculate every little activity that we do, and,
Which was a lot of
yeah,
bookkeeping.
it's a headache.
So you want to do a base plus per voter? Okay.
The law's clear that we can't make a profit on it, so I put a lot of thought into this so that I can calculate the best method to move forward without overcharging or excessively undercharging.
So how does this compare to last year?
So,
or less?
the handout that I just gave you.
Okay.
21-20, the election primary cost was $2,903.70 for just the primary for 2 municipalities. And then their general was $10,166.70, or excuse me, $13,000. For both of them was $13,000. But we didn't have drop boxes at that time, so labor and poll worker costs have increased since then. And then in 2023, we had we had the congressional district 2 seat on the ballot as well.
It
as
changes
school
all the
law.
time, don't it?
And so these numbers are very low because they shared the cost of the county, the school board, and the state. But my proposal is I just calculated the new base cost. And then if you look at your second and third page, I just calculated, so at the top of the spreadsheet, it tells you like the ballot base, that's $45 per ballot base. And then so on across, the numbers in there are the costs to just run the election. So depending on how many races, how many ballot bases, whatever. So that is paid to Election Systems and Softwares, which is the company that we contract with, the state contracts with, to create our election. For our software and stuff, so to create the election, so we can run the election. And then if you look down, I did the cost on that, the gray portion of this. It's fixed costs broken down by 1, 2, or 3 municipalities to have an election, the very top one, which is if there was 1 municipality have an election. Those would be the costs. If you see a 0, that means it's a flexible cost, a variable cost. So all the ones with an actual cost come out to about $2,769.06 for 1 election. If a second municipality has an election, that will be shared with them, and that cost will go down from there.
Yeah.
But that is our actual cost to create and run program the election. So my proposal is if we do a minimum fixed cost not to exceed $2,800 based on, depending on actual costs. And then the base cost will increase the more municipalities, but then it'll actually decrease the cost for municipalities because they'll share. And then the 2,800 gives us a little wiggle room so that they have more ballot bases, more county contestants. And then $2.15 per voter variable cost, which will include $165 at the nonprofit rate. So it's $1.45 for the ballot, the return envelope, the outgoing envelope, and the insert. And then if we have more than 500 voters, it would be 18 cents
Goes down.
to mail it. But if we have less than 500, we pay the normal postage rate, which is just slightly over the cost of the stamp.
Okay.
So that will leave us, if it's the 165 per ballot, that will leave us 52 cents per voter to accumulate the variable costs. So if Lindell has the least amount of registered voters in their municipality, and if they were the only one to have the election, they would be based on this 2,800 and the 214 per voter, their maximum cost would be $2,000. So as long as they're okay with that, and doing it this way would help us accumulate the costs or recuperate the costs as closely there to without overcharging.
Okay.
It seems like other counties have just chosen a base price and then a cost per voter, but I think Martin's proposal is a little more flexible to try to be as fair and cover the costs as cheaper.
Without me, at least how we draft the interval agreement prior to their elections, and this proposal for letting them know their costs so they can, actually it's available to.
Well, this is kind of nice because they can budget ahead of time too.
Do they have the option to run them themselves if they want?
They,
They contract with us, so they can do it, but they all contract with you or anything?
yeah, so the municipal elections, the towns are statutorily required, that they're the election official over that, but they can choose to contract.
Okay.
I'll entertain a
Any more
motion.
discussion? I would move that we accept the new rate for municipal elections contracts with the cities.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I thought all these had to be adopted by resolution.
It's an attachment or a contract. It's just a contract.
Okay.
It's not a I think it would be a little tricky to make it a fee schedule because it's so variable depending on how many municipalities are contracting.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
And we can try this year and see how it goes, if it's more time consuming to figure it out, or if we're not collecting enough, or we're not collecting. We can also just for the next year's contracts that we've chosen to do is just for 1 year.
Okay. Discussion of possible approval of purchasing card for Jackie Bryan in the Tourism Department for $1,500.
Rachel West with Tourism. So we hired Jacqueline Bryan, as kind of assistant tourism director. She's going to be taking on more of the events as I step into more of the director role. Kevin Morris wants to fully retire again here in September, so we started that transition. Kevin has a purchasing card, but he will be gone all of June. So when we were at the fair and the ATV Jamboree, all of that stuff, there's not times that I'm not available to go and purchase everything, but she will be, so we'll be tag teaming it. So we just asked for 1,500 of like, incidentals of like, oh, we ran out of something, can you run to the store? And we do try to choose places that have like our contracts and stuff like that, but every once in a while that doesn't happen, so we can't do that all the time.
Is Kevin's at $1,500 as
I think
well?
his is at 2,000, but we figured between all three of us having one, we didn't need her to be up that much. And then when Kevin retires, then we can discuss if hers needs to go up or if mine needs to stay the same or go down or whatever. We can discuss that. We figured right now 1,500 would cover us through a little bit until we
When
can
will
get.
Kevin be gone?
I asked him to stay until the art festival.
Okay, so this fall, till you get done with it.
Yeah, but he said because he has to be done in August, and I said, can you stay till the
another
art
month?
festival to help me through the art festival? And he was
All right.
more than happy to do that, so.
I'll make a motion that we approve a purchasing card for Jackie Bryan for the amount of $1,500.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, update on County Economic Development Plan. Abby, how are you doing today?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I just wanted to update you on my efforts for economic development in the county. I appreciate you signing that contract, so thank you so much. The first thing is I wanted to give you this printed copy of the community profile that EDC Utah did, so we updated it with all the changes that we had looked at with you and with the media board, so I think it looks really great. So we've been using this as our efforts with responses to proposals with businesses. Some of the other things that we've been working on is we received a offer to do a blueprint, which is like an economic strategy plan, but just kind of like a condensed version of that. So we've been starting that with the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, and that's for Fillmore City. So we've been starting that with August Brown, and that's been going really well. He said that we're one of the fastest ones that have been working on that. So they're working on gathering a group together to work on that. And it's like focused efforts on what kind of vision they see for their area. And possibly also start a chamber down there with the same kind of group. So that's going to be happening with them. We also applied for the Utah Main Street program, which is like I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a group that it's the State Historical Society, and they offer, it's like a federal program, but they also offer grants to businesses who want to fix up their buildings on a historical Main Street area. So if you have a kind of a condensed Main Street, then you can apply for the program. So we put in the application, so it just ended on Friday, so we'll probably hear back from that in another month or so. So it took some letters of support.
Did you
pictures.
have to designate just one city, or would it be countywide in the cities that want to participate?
It's a city program,
Okay.
so, so the city had to apply for it. So they'll have to, again, create like a committee or something like that. But I think it'll be a good program for them. Many cities can do it, so any city can apply for it. But you have to have at least a, kind of like a historical compact downtown Main Street that's at least 50 years old. And then you have to kind of get a historical group that's interested in kind of keeping that historical look. But there's also programs and grants that are available for businesses. Like I helped a business in Mount Pleasant apply for a grant that helps with the interior of the business. So they were looking at redoing the interior of their building. So it was kind of nice to, apply for those grants that are available. So it's a really nice program for them. So we've applied for that. So we're looking at doing some other things too. We're looking at doing an economic field trip, I like to call it, out to Vernal. They've been doing a really great job of revitalizing their downtown using CRA money and grants. And they've been doing that over the past 2 to 3 years, and now they actually have the numbers to back up their data. So they've actually doubled their sales tax dollars in 2 years with their efforts to revitalize the actual interiors of their downtown Main Street areas. So it's been really great. So we're looking at maybe taking people out there to see what they've done and see how they did it and just kind of see what the possibilities are.
Do they attribute that to bringing in more tourism?
Actually, it wasn't a tourism thing. It was actually just revitalizing downtown. They had 11 empty buildings, commercial businesses, and so they just wanted to see how can we revitalize our downtown, get more people into it, even just closing off those areas and like having block parties, kind of like the old 1980s, kind of like bringing your communities back together again. They had really dilapidated interiors of those city blocks, and so what they did is they went in and beautified them, turned them into parking lots, and even outdoor eating areas, and that just really brought people back into the downtown areas. So then they had more retail spaces, and again, eating establishments, and it really did a great job for them. And so I think it was a great way to do it, and it just really brought people, instead of keeping people in the exteriors or sending them out to other places to eat, or sitting at home, it really brought people into the downtown spaces and brought people back together. And I think that's a great way for us to kind of get ourselves out of our phones and get us talking again. So I think it's a great way to do things. So we're looking at doing something like that maybe later on in the year. So we've been also working on some workforce development. I've met with UAMPS. We met with a team from Fillmore City, Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, and Snow College to start working with them on their project because they're building a peaking power plant down by Fillmore and McCormick, and we want to make sure that we are prepared for what kind of workforce they would need to start developing that. So we met with them online and are starting to develop a program for them so that we would be prepared for what they would need. So we're looking at what kind of workforce they would need and what kind of salary they were looking at. So we're working with them on that. And then also we did the same thing with Fervo. We met with SUU and the Fervo people down in Cedar City 2 weeks ago. They already have an apprenticeship program that they're working on where Fervo paid for 100 apprenticeship programs there. So SUU is willing to do that kind of same program with Snow College. So we've been working on that as well, so we can do that same thing out here.
Well, I have a comment. I think the commissioners and others recognize this, but the potential for development in this county is really bright. As I've communicated with the businesses and these potential energy producers, there's one thing, a common thread that all of them say they really need. We talk about nuclear. They don't need no more nuclear scientists. They just need workforce. They need welders, plumbers. It's all consistent. The technology's there and everything else. So we always look at the tax benefit of the county when these businesses come in. But they're going to hire people. So let me tell you the potential. If these businesses come in and they can only get 10 or 15 or 20% of employees that's qualified from our county, that's great. But what if we prepare the county with workforce that 70 or 80 or 90% of the people they have in workforce is people that's here that we've prepared and qualified? And that's a factor we really need to look at. If we miss that boat, we've taken away probably one of the biggest economic development things in our county, that families can come home. If they're going to come, and if our citizens are not qualified or trained, they're going to bring them in from someplace else. You've seen what's happened out here recently. 80, 90% of the people working on the projects now don't reside here. They've come in and left. Just think of the dynamics if we can change that and prepare a workforce to where when a company comes in, we not only increase the tax base, that they're hiring 75 or 80% of the people are actually families and sons and daughters of those people here. It creates a much greater benefit for us, and we need to focus on that. I'm glad Abby's got that vision, and it needs to be a partnership between our school districts here in training in pre-high school. It needs to be a partnership with generally Snow or Cedar City or some of these, and a partnership with the county, because we can really help motivate this and develop spaces here, develop training programs. In META, we've started a little teeny bit. A couple of years ago. Had a lot of stumbling blocks, but we can really expand upon that. So this is a real important part of what we're doing, I think.
I agree with you. And actually, when I contacted UAMPS and I just expressed how we were excited to have them come, and I told them, I said, I know the project is several years out, but we just want to make sure that we had the workforce ready for them. And it takes a couple of years to develop that program. He was surprised that I was calling with that, and he said, well, yes, we want that. And he invited us to come up and we meet with him in Salt Lake City. He said, please come up, and we want you to come up here. But when we had the online call yesterday, he said one of the biggest things that they would have need of is a lineman program. And so immediately, I know somebody in that kind of field, and he said, oh, just give me a call, and I said, no, I want the lineman program in Millard County. I don't want it somewhere else. I don't want it up north.
Yeah, we need it here.
We need it here.
There's enough going on here. We need to not develop these programs
Right.
in Logan or Salt Lake or.
I don't want to send anybody away.
We need those programs here.
Yeah.
We can do that with a small investment with technology now. You used to have to build a building and you didn't have technology. We can do that now because all we need is space. All this technology can be brought here. So our intention is, at least mine, that we develop those programs that they're here, that those people that's in those programs are here, that they don't have to leave. It will be less expensive for them. They don't have to move. They don't have to go rent apartments. They don't have to travel. I think we have enough potential. This isn't one or two. I think we have enough potential we can support those programs here.
So that's something we are working on, is that looking at seeing about doing some kind of lineman program here. So we're working, like I said, we had Snow College on that call. So we can kind of work on that, and so we'll keep working on that. And then, like I said, with the FRBO, one of the interesting thing too is because some of these businesses will attract other businesses. For instance, with FRBO, now we're getting calls like, with the nuclear, the other thing with the nuclear is we have a company who wants to drill, and so they're attracted because Fervo is drilling. There's a nuclear power company that wants to drill, and they want to be with Fervo. So it's going to be attracting these other companies as well, and I think you're going to have that wherever you go. Some of these companies are going to attract the other ones. So we're taking those phone calls. Y'all are going to be attracting a lot of high-ticket things like that. So we're just working on those. Some of the other things we're working on right now is working on the Utah Department of Ag and Food right now has the food processor security grant going on. So I'm working with a local company on their grant application. So we're working with them on that. They had a need for also a business plan. So I've contacted Snow College to work on getting them that, so they would have a really great application submitted. And also, it's more than just submitting an application, it's establishing these relationships with these agencies as well. So when I was at the Rural Utah Chamber Coalition conference last week, I spent a lot of time with Utah's own and Utah Department of Ag and Food, and just spending time with them saying, what makes a successful application? What are you looking for? And making sure that we get the best application we could possibly get with that. So other things is like working with Predator Armor and Colin Christensen, and just, seeing what their needs are. They reached out to me just saying, can we get some things going and stuff like that. So I'm continuing to work with them. And then also with the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity and the META Board, it's ending the grant cycle. So with the 24-25 grant cycle, it's ending. We're actually starting the reporting for what's been done, and then starting the new budget cycle. So that'll start coming up now. So you'll start hearing from us on submitting what our desires are for our next grant cycle. Do you have any questions for me? That's all I have to report.
Yeah. You mentioned that Fergo has some, excuse me, apprenticeship programs. What kind of programs?
So Fervo has developed an apprenticeship program at their Cape Station at Milford. So they had paid for 100 residents to go through their apprenticeship program, so that where they're teaching them how to do the drilling down there. Okay. So we're looking at developing something similar to that up here, so we can see if we can't do something like that. And it's kind of interesting because their drilling is almost the same as like oil drilling. So they can actually take the same kind of people that maybe if they get laid off in the oil fields, and I'm not saying it's a situation, but like if you were out in Bernal or Duchesne or something like that and you got laid off, you could actually be a driller in our area. So we want to keep those relationships and establish those relationships with those economic development people out there, because you could be a driller out there and come and do this work out here.
So is this for the geothermal, right?
Yeah, it's for geothermal, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Just another comment. I appreciate your exploring with the Ag Department and Utah's own. I think everybody knows Millard County is the #2 county in the state for ag production as far as dollars produced. As we look at all this other stuff, our hopes would be, I think our environment is better if we can maintain a rural environment with economic development. And so I think it's important that we don't forget that segment of who we are. Obviously, we have some restrictions with water and other stuff, but it would be well as we increase and develop Millard County that we also continue to consider development of the ag portion of it, and the ability for people to produce income here through agriculture products. I think it makes our lifestyles better if we have both. So that's a
Yes,
good
sir.
move.
We're actually taking a regional approach to economic development. We're working with Adam to do that in our area, and our focus is going to be agriculture, and the agri-park. Sean Carroll, I'm sure, will come in and talk to you about the agri-park. They secured the land for the ag park, so they secured 920 acres. So they'll be proceeding ahead with that. So we're definitely looking at continuing with that. The other thing I forgot to mention too is, we'll be continuing to monitor legislation during this off season right now, because I know we're still looking at that. So I know they're going to continue pushing for those laws that we weren't so favorable for this season. So we're keeping an eye on all those things just to make sure that we're.
Abby's been helpful with that, and we got a lot of support to do a rewrite of 249. Talked to President Adams just the other day, and so far, obviously, we got to lay the papers on the desk, but we've threw out a theory, or at least a concept that they're supportive of, and we'll see how far we get with that. So.
And I met privately with Senator Cullimore about, what his objectives are and how we wanted to help try and shape that bill to just make sure that we protect, your rights to have a voice in what happened and in economic development.
What kind of response did you get?
He was kind. He took my business card. So I just said, we're here in the trenches. We know what's going on. Please, just take our advice as to, what's going on, and we'll help make something happen. But, we just want to make sure that you have a voice in what's going on in your county, and, that you retain as much as possible as far as like tax, so.
Yeah, it's called federalism.
Yeah. So I know we can't, control everything, but I'm certainly not going to sit back and just do nothing, so.
Well, if they're going to pick on industry, it should be all industry, not just energy, because that's what our county would be affected by more than anything is
Well,
energy.
yeah, and I certainly agree with you, Commissioner, and it seemed like they were kind of going after everything, but it seemed like they were personally attacking Millard County, and I wasn't going to sit around and do nothing for it.
They lost track of what they was doing, is
Well,
what
they
they
voted
did.
down the one for all industry because it would affect the urban areas, and so all their legislators voted against it, but they don't care about us out here, so. Anyway, I appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Abby.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, discussion possible approval of Resolution 25-520, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Millard County, Utah, amending Resolution 25-19, adopting a revised fee schedule for Millard County Recorder's Office by changing the surveyor review fee for the Recorder's Office.
Sierra Dickens, County Recorder. All this is doing is matching the fee that we are charged from Sunrise for the reviews. Typically, the public is not charged that review fee until the third review. So I haven't charged it at this point, but now we need it to reflect what we will be being charged, which is the $166 instead of $150.
Can I get a motion?
I would move we approve Resolution 25-5-20.
I'll second that motion.
Call for roll call on resolution 25-05-20 as discussed. Commissioner Hamel?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Thank you.
I was waiting for Commissioner Wright to ask questions like he usually does.
Okay, discussion and possible approval of a C2 conditional use permit application Z 2025-028 for public use off-highway vehicle staging area located at approximately 750 South, 1000 East Fillmore. David.
I'm Dave Nixon, president of the Sound Rock Ridge Riders ATV Club.
Can you speak into the mic so that we can?
Yeah, pull the mic up,
Sorry.
so we, there.
So I'm Dave Nixon, president of the Sound Rock Ridge Riders ATV Club.
Okay. Adam, you want to give us a little?
Sure. David, I'll probably defer to Dave here in a moment, but, so what the proposal consisted of is a staging area, the construction and operation of I'm going to say parking lot, but a staging area for accessing the trail systems south of Fillmore. And it falls under the category of a public use. If it's all right, I'm just going to read that definition. So as we're doing conditional use permits, we have a table of uses. If something falls within that table, it designates what the application process will consist of, and it has to match that definition. If it doesn't match the definition, it's not an allowed use. So here's the definition for a public use. A use operated exclusively by a public body or quasi-public body, such use having the purpose of serving the public health, safety, or general welfare, and including, but not limited to, parks, recreational facilities, administrative and service offices and facilities, and public utilities, and found by the Commission to conform to the general plan, or has been considered by the Commission and the Board of County Commissioners, has approved their proposed location and/or public use as an amendment to the general plan. Public uses do not include an animal control facility, landfill, water treatment plant, sewer treatment plant, airport, heliport, correctional facility, or liquor store. So I think as we've had the discussion, and this did receive a favorable recommendation with a list of proposed conditions from the Planning Commission, this matched up very closely with the recreational facilities portion. And in looking at both the administrative manual, which defines a quasi-public use as a use operated by a private nonprofit, educational, religious, recreational, charitable, or a philanthropic institution serving the public. It really is. It's very consistent, both with the general plan as well as what the use is. So it checks all the boxes. The area is currently zoned residential. We have seen a few different projects proposed in that general vicinity, but it's actually not really residential if you drive out there. There's residential zoning, but it's undeveloped. And from what I can gather, Fillmore does not intend to annex it. They've expressed that several times.
Who owns the land?
A lot of it is, it's private, but
Yeah, it's private. Ellie Fuller owns the 3 acres that I'm proposing to buy.
and
So you're going to purchase it then?
I'm going to get a OHVR grant, that's Off-Highway Vehicle Recreation Grant, to purchase the property.
And then are you just basically going to have it be a parking lot so people can?
Basically, day use only, there won't be any water. We plan to put a vault toilet in there, signage, kiosk, to locate the trails, and just stage from there. Currently, people are unloading right off the Sandrock Ridge Road on someone's private property and then riding their ATVs through the June Brush property up through that gate where I want to put our staging area.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It accesses Chalk Creek, Mountain Sheep, Dry Creek, Pine Creek, Sandrock Ridge, all of it from right there. So people are using it currently, and I can tell that it's just a matter of time they won't be able to do that anymore. So I tied up this property right before it was no longer available, basically.
No, I think it's a great idea.
I might add, it was noted at the Planning Commission level, and I would express the same here, that when we have somebody that comes in and tries very diligently to follow all the rules, and this isn't a profitable venture for them, this really is a public use, and we've appreciated very much both the thoroughness of the application and the diligence of the applicant to meet what the county has established as criteria for these types of projects. It's really been a pleasure to work with Mr. Nixon. The proposed conditions that were suggested by the Planning Commission as part of their recommendation, if it's all right, I'll just cover those real quick. There are 10 conditions that were proposed. And the first is that the site shall be used solely for parking, staging, and public access to the designated OHV trails. The second is that the hours of operation for the staging area will be open to the public use only between the hours of 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. unless otherwise approved, so no overnight activities. Third is access and traffic control. The signage will be installed at the entrance to ensure safe ingress, egress, and to direct traffic appropriately, and that the applicant will coordinate with the county road department on any road improvements or encroachment permits as they develop the road that goes there. The next is no overnight parking. This is a little bit more explicit, but vehicles shall not be left overnight unless otherwise approved. Fifth is fire protection measures, that no fire shall be permitted on site. All areas for parking vehicles shall be identified and shall be cleared of grass and other fuels. Appropriate signage shall be provided. Sixth is dust control, that the applicant shall implement dust control measures as needed. Seventh is maintenance responsibilities, that the applicant shall be responsible for ongoing maintenance of trash receptacles, signage and fencing, restroom facilities if provided, parking area, grading, and surfacing. And eighth is lighting. Any installed lighting shall be fully shielded and downward directed to minimize impacts on neighboring properties and dark skies. Ninth was review and enforcement, that the county reserves the right to review this permit after 12 months to assess compliance and resolve any complaints, and then failure to comply with these conditions may result in enforcement action or revocation of the permit following due process. And the final is coordination, that the applicant shall coordinate with applicable federal or state agencies, examples being the local BLM and U.S. Forest Service offices, field offices, to ensure that any trail access signage is consistent with what they have as well, just to be good partners. So quite a list. It's my understanding that Mr. Nixon is okay with these.
You won't really need lighting though, since it's just day use, right?
It'd have to be solar, there's no electricity there. But, yeah, we don't plan on any lighting.
And
Maybe Mr. Nixon, where does the where does the liability exist? Is it on the county or on you as a personal property owner, or?
So the Sand Rock Ridge Riders ATV Club is a nonprofit. We anticipate purchasing the property and getting it completed and then turning it over to another entity.
Okay, and the liability would exist there.
Yeah.
Somebody gets run over by their,
Well,
we hope that never happens.
I don't think it's
Sand Rock
any
Ridge
different than
Riders.
parking in a BLM place, so.
Yeah,
we don't have any money to sue.
yeah.
a little less of a
Good point.
target.
We plan to keep things level. We don't want to have any hazards.
Yes,
you know.
you've already made those precautions, I'm sure, with the uses.
I think it's a great service, actually. I won't have to park at the church anymore and then ride from there.
We probably would do well to cover the basis for the issuance of a conditional use permit. Anytime a conditional use permit is issued, there are 8 different factors that are supposed to be met or considered as the basis for the issuance of that permit. And this is codified, this is in our county code, so every time we issue one of these are the points that have to be considered. If it's all right, I'll just roll through them for the record. First is the proposed use is a conditional use within the zoning district as identified in Appendix A. It is. The proposed use is allowed within the zoning district as identified in Chapter 8. It is. The proposed use complies with all requirements of the zoning district, including all minimum area, setbacks, height, and all other requirements as applicable. Fourth is the proposed use will be conducted in compliance with the requirements of this ordinance, all other applicable land use ordinances, and all applicable federal, state, or local requirements and regulations. Fifth is the property on which the use is proposed is of adequate size to permit the use of the conduct of the use in a manner that will not be detrimental to adjoining and surrounding properties. Sixth is the proposed use complies with all site plans and building requirements as provided and required by this ordinance and all other applicable land use ordinances and all applicable federal, state, or local requirements and regulations. Seventh, the proposed use complies with all applicable dedication requirements of the county and provides the necessary infrastructure as required. And lastly, such use will not, under the conditions required, be detrimental to the health, general welfare, and safety of persons or injurious to property or improvements of the immediate area or the county as a whole. So those are the required points of consideration.
I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve conditional use permit application Z-2025-028 for public use off highway vehicle staging area.
Second.
With the proposed conditions?
Pardon?
With the proposed conditions?
Yes, with the proposed conditions.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Do you need a? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Can I,
Mr. Nixon.
Just interject one thing, one question. Is there a chance that we could waive or reduce the application fee?
A C2 conditional use permit is a $1,500 application fee. It's considered a large project, is just under our categories, so that was the default fee that was asked for or charged.
I think it has a lot to do with tourism, so, I mean, I think it's bringing tourism into the county, so it might be something we could waive.
How do we proceed with that?
It's really the legislative body's discretion if they wanted to reduce or waive a fee. Outside of my approval level, because I just have the fee schedule to follow.
Do we know if we've done it very often?
If you're Fillmore City, you know that I always advised against fee waivers, but I do think this is a very unique situation where he's preparing for and developing a project that would otherwise be done by the county. So I think there is some discretion here to be had. And so it would just be an action you take on the record.
They're not trying to make any money, and they're doing it for the benefit of the community, so I'm okay with it as well.
Yeah, there is a difference between that and someone that's profiting off. So I would move that we waive the fee.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion and possible approval of funding toward attendance for the Governor Honor Academy with SUU. Rhett Crapo and Kate Chase. How you doing this morning, Rhett?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, so me and one of my classmates, Kate Chase, we were at Delta High School. Both of us have been accepted to attend the Governor's Honors Academy hosted by SUU. So on behalf of her and myself, I'm asking for sponsorship to attend this academy. And the purpose of this academy is kind of just to seek out the gifted high school students and try to give them like leadership experiences and kind of help prepare them for their life as adults. So the amount me and Kate Chase are asking for is $650 each for this academy. And the benefits of sponsoring for us, I'll read this. As a community sponsor of the 2025 Governor's Honors Academy, your organization will receive increased recognition as a civic support leader in education through your contribution to the students' development. All donations over $200 will receive recognition on the Governor Honors Academy's website. Through your sponsorship of a high school student from your local area, we invite you to take ownership of the Governor's Honors Academy and seek the leadership qualities exhibited by these elite participants. We're confident that these students will be Utah's next generation of leaders, highly visible in business, politics, and also productive members of communities like yours. So, yeah, me and Kate Chase are asking for the sponsorship, and that's all. Any questions?
Have you gone to Delta City?
What?
Have you talked to Delta City Council?
Kate Chase is doing that.
I was just
I
wondering,
think Kate Chase was at the Delta City Council, their last meeting.
I was just wondering if they agreed to give you money towards this.
I believe they have.
Do you know how much?
No.
$650? You guys are sophomores going to be juniors, or juniors going to be?
Well,
seniors?
juniors going to be seniors.
Okay. Okay. I think in the past, we've typically done half of, for something like this. If I'm not mistaken, we've never done
I'm
the
trying
full
to
amount
think
that I
what
can
we
of.
paid before, but it didn't seem like it was that much.
In the past, I've always asked them to get some of the money on their own.
Yeah.
A lot of years ago.
Bonnie, do you remember what we've done in the past? Is it half or?
It's varied.
Okay.
It's mostly on a regular basis. It's been, those are whole state. And it's just different commissions we do it differently, so it's not always been consistent.
Okay.
So is Delta committed to pay half of it already?
Yeah.
I think, okay.
I can speak as to last year, or actually 2 years ago, perhaps. It was half.
Okay. Dallin went.
Also approached the city about some of
But didn't we say they needed to do some community service hours
Yeah,
or
the
something?
Dallin,
They did. I recall that they both did have a component of service that they
Because we wanted them to work and earn some of this themselves.
that was a required condition.
And then they reported that.
I don't,
Supposed to, I don't know if they ever did.
I don't think
I know they did the service, I don't know if they ever reported back.
Well, I think we're talking about, I don't know what amount to come up with to do some shared responsibility between Delta and us and possibly you. And then I think a good suggestion was after you're done, you come back and report to us and maybe tell us about your experience and how valuable you thought it was. So, but I don't
Okay.
know the dollar amount. Do you want to, Trevor?
we've done half. That's what I recalled on any of these that we've done, is half. So I'd say we do 325 each per young man and woman.
Half is 650, the total of the academy is 1,500.
Yeah.
So Delta City is giving us 650 per student to cover half of the academy. I mean,
Okay.
going on, but-
I feel like we need to make them be responsible for some of it.
No, I'm fine with doing what we've done in the past. Do, it's like 5 or 6 hours of service we either got with rec department, I think is who we got with. Do you remember Adam, who Dallin had to work with?
I can check with his mother, I think I did a really great job. I remember the discussion, because Marcus was doing a lot of the recreation with this baseball and some of the things that he was a little bit more associated with. I know Dallin did a bunch, but
I
was coordinating it, not myself.
I do think it was the recreation.
Do we need to have them put the time in first and then give them the money?
I think that's what we did last time, but I don't know. So I do know that we've never sent anybody off that was fully funded, whether it was between the city or the county. Unless they've got funding from somewhere else after they left us. But we've never, like in this case, given 650 and then the city was 650. So it was just a fully funded by, either Delta City or Fillmore City and the county. I don't think we've ever done that. So I'd propose to do the 325 per each kid, and then, based upon like 5 hours of service we'll get with the recreation department, or the maintenance department, to help them for 5 hours to do that.
I'm good with that.
I do know the maintenance department is going to be putting up, they might be doing it right now, might be too late.
When is the
Sheriff,
conference?
where are when are your inmates working? Is it today and tomorrow? for the maintenance to help with the stock show?
I don't know the schedule for that.
Okay, but they're not over there today? Okay.
What do you think, Bill?
I'm with you. I agree, just get a number, I guess, if, to do some community service and whatever, your number's fine.
Okay. I'm fine with 5 hours and the $325.
Okay, I'll make that as a motion.
Okay, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, if you want to, now if you don't want to go do the service, that's fine. I'll have Brooks touch base with you, Brooks Jackson. And we can come up with 5 hours of community service. When are you doing this?
It's in kind of the later part of June.
Later part of June, so there's plenty of time.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to, just do, like I said, we'll get Brooks to touch base with you, and you and Kate can do 5 hours of community service, and then we'll get each of you $325, so $650 total between the both of you.
Okay.
So between now and then, if you decide you don't want to do the service, that's fine too, but that'll just be the stipulation, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion and possible approval of resolution 25-5-20A, resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Millard County amending the Millard County Facilities Use and Rental Policy.
I'm going to ask you to table this. I got a little ambitious when I requested that this get put on. I knew some changes were going to be included, including releases, like waivers, just releases and waivers, and then also insurance requirements. But then as I started going through there was other things mentioned that I know have since been changed by other resolutions, and I didn't have time to get it before all of the executive team. So that was my bad.
So
So I move we go on to the next item of business. Is that what you want to do?
Yes,
Okay.
that is what I'm asking.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll strike it from the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay. Discussion and ratification of application regarding a possible throughput infrastructure fund loan regarding Aries strategic mining.
Do you want to talk about this or me?
I can, then you can correct my mistakes.
Sounds good.
We had Aries Mining come to us for a permit of rare minerals, which is in Millard County. Not only permit, but wanted to apply for, what is it, BCI money? CBI money. Help me get that, CIB money. We just didn't get clear directions because in the legislature this year, they amended a bill that actually freed up some money available to companies that wasn't done before. So it was out of the regular CIB, and a whole new set of rules. And Elise spent a lot of time working with this. I appreciate her. And basically, we've all said, as long as we had the same position or that we had with regular CIB, in other words, we weren't accountable, and we just become a sponsor and supported what they was trying to do, we would maintain that. Some information we got prior to that was, no, you have to do a bond on that, and eventually we solved all that, went back to them, and what we have done is signed the application, and after that application, we will get a regular form back, and that will have the stipulations of what our responsibility are. And we're assuming that we won't have none if we get the forms back to complete the contract, and there is, Aries knows and everybody knows that we won't do that. I don't suspect that's going to happen. So it took us a little time. We was getting different messages from different people, but we approved the application. The company communicated with me about a week or two ago, and they said that they had received a letter from the current administration, Trump administration, and wanted to formulate a contract that they would take all the rare minerals that they could produce. We talk about nuclear. There is one of those, I can't think of them all, I think fluorspar, that is actually used and is a real asset with nuclear energy development. They have to have that rare mineral. In that letter, it indicated that a lot of those rare mineral now are coming from out of the country. China and some other countries.
And China's going to quit.
There was in there that China, as of next December, China will not ship any more rare minerals to the United States. Right now, this is the only, at least the closest active mine in the United States to provide those rare minerals. I'm sure there are probably other places. However, because there was no incentive to develop them, they haven't identified anybody. But this is the main mine in the whole United States that's been identified to do that. And so they got a good pathway forward to be able to be productive and see that. I'm sure there just hasn't been any incentive to mine them anyplace else because it's been difficult to get permits. It's just easier to buy them from China. But as you say, when China has already says we will restrict or not send those minerals anymore, this could become a very important factor in our defense and in our country. So we'll proceed. At least we'll get the information back, and then we'll have that discussion again, what the contract says. So,
Yeah, I'll just briefly add a few more details. So what the county applied for on behalf of Aries was an $11 million loan. I believe the term is 7 years. Like Commissioner Wright mentioned, there's been disagreements in the interpretation of this new Senate Bill 187 about whether or not a bond would be required. Ultimately, CIB decided that the way they were interpreting it, a bond would not be required, so Aries would be privately obligating itself for the $11 million, and it's my understanding they will be providing details to show that they have the collateral for that amount. As of last Thursday, CIB did award that subject to execution of agreement, so that's what we're waiting on to make sure that Millard County's obligations, if any, are minimal and won't require any really risk.
and normally CIB could do 2 or 3 things. They could give you a grant, they could do a match, or they could do a loan. CIB does that and this is a loan. So it's not a grant, it's basically a loan, and they'll be responsible to pay that back.
As far as I know, though, it will be the county's responsibility to process reimbursement requests. So we will be able to see once we get their draft agreement what exactly that looks like to determine what type of burden that would put on the county.
Okay.
So I just found out about this late last week, I think Friday. And I'd like to see what that burden is, and I would ask the commission to consider a fee for an application. All the time that, Salt Lake County imposed a fee for this type of situation to cover our time for a private business. I don't know how Attorney Harris feels about that, but all her time to research, all our time to process any refunds, and really to see what our obligation is and have them that cover our time as part of the fee for doing this for them. So, and maybe even a financial review from public finance, Zions Bank for Public Finance. They do this all the time with their expertise. They do charge a fee, but they've helped other entities, specifically Salt Lake County, with some of these bigger things, especially when there's different opinions. It's nice to get an independent opinion as far as the finances of the county. So,
Elise, when do you expect those documents back?
I almost expected it Friday.
Before now? Okay.
But I haven't seen anything yet.
All right.
So I'm wondering if we'll see it this week. I do think the county should be judicious in its review and make sure that they are comfortable with it before moving forward. So I anticipate it would be on the next agenda, but we'll see.
When we get them back, have Bonnie review them and go through the process that you've mentioned to make sure we understand.
But yeah, I think charging them a fee for time the county puts into it's definitely fair. And we definitely don't want to be liable for that loan.
We're just assessing the fee would be at the next commission meeting, right? We don't need to worry about that today.
Yeah, this is
We
just
don't-
the ratification of the application that was submitted, so
Okay,
not approval of any agreement, so.
okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we ratify the application regarding possible throughput infrastructure fund loan regarding Aries strategic mining.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, discussion with the Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands. How are you doing?
I'm good, how are you guys?
Doing great, thanks.
Copeland Anderson, Division of Forestry, Fires, and State Lands. I'm the acting fire warden. So I didn't really take land enrollee's job yet. We're kind of in a career mobility position where we can learn like the different jobs and stuff, so. The discussion was actually what Landon came to you last commissioner meeting about House Bill 48, so we really don't need anything discussion unless you guys have questions about it. So, but I just wanted to introduce myself so you guys had a face to your new county warden, so.
Quickly review that for us.
The House Bill 48, it's a pretty big bill, but it's pretty much.
Quickly.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Give us the highlights, so.
A bill that's going to impact homes in high-risk fire areas where the wildland-urban interface meets. Just give you an idea what a wildland-urban interface, so you take Frampton Heights and Virginia Hills, that would be your wildland-urban interface. The state's making a map right now to identify those high-risk areas, and the state's going to impose a fee to those landowners for being.
Are you making that, or do we do it in planning and zoning?
I think you guys are going to have to,
Okay,
the
it's
state's
Adam's-
going to come up with the fee.
Adam's gonna come up with the
So they're coming up with
recommendation.
the fee, but you're gonna make us tell these people they gotta pay more money, like it always happens,
Yeah,
right?
and then the DNR didn't make this bill, so the legislative people said, hey, here's a bill, and DNR figure out how you're going to implement it. So we've been meeting with all the commissioners and stuff and trying to build it from the ground up, so it's not
But do we get to draw the lines in?
where the WUI, the
Yes, we gotta
wildland.
decide who has to pay more money, Bill.
Okay, all right.
I wish we could, but that's going to be up to the state, so. But that's pretty much what the bill is, and then the county's going to have to adopt a 2006 wildland urban interface as part of that bill, so. And I brought that up to planning and zoning last month, or last couple weeks ago, so. But that's it.
Well, we'll just keep letting our state legislatures take all of everybody's money, then not get the blame for it.
Oh, they
so.
want to look like the good guys, so they're going to take the money elsewhere. That way they can get rid of property or income tax, state income tax, and they can look like the good guys.
This is not the only time they did that this year.
Yeah, any questions about upcoming fire season or anything, any questions for me you guys have?
These spring storms haven't helped you in that sense, have they?
No.
It's been great to have, we'll take
Oh,
them
it's
all day
been
long.
wonderful, but it's just making the grass grow, so.
Yeah,
If we could just keep the storms coming all the time, so it'd keep
Oh, yeah.
it wet.
Keep
it'd be
praying for
good.
it, so. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so in 2023, the state passed a bill regarding to the red flag warning, which red flag is a couple of things where you have high winds and low relative humidity. When we have both of those, we're in the red flag. And so the new law is saying that there will be no burning on red flag warning days unless you have a waiver from me, which I am guided to not to give them out because of the liability. But in this bill, it's been always a rule, but farmers or anybody has to call into public safety and notify that they're doing any kind of burn. And closed fire season, which is June 1st to October 31st, they have to get a burn permit from me. allowing them to burn. And this is outside, this is in county. In city limits, that's up to the fire chief. They have that authority, but anything county-wise, they're going to have to get a burn permit from me, so.
So farmers go to you for the burn permit?
Yep. And I'm working on doing a flyer or a mailer that's going to send out with this new red flag warning law and how it's going to look. And it's going to have a QR code where you can scan, you can do an online permit. It's a new thing we came out with. And so it might be a little clunky, but I can always do an in-person burn permit, so.
So up
Most
to
of-
June 1st, they just have to notify.
Yep, they have to notify
But
public.
after that, they have to actually have it.
Yep, from June 1st to
permit.
October 31st, they have to have
So
a burn
building
permit.
fields, burning fields and that in the fall or the spring?
Yep.
They just, you want to be notified so you don't know.
Yep,
that.
and the county needs to be notified, and
So, no, they don't, like, the farmer doesn't have to notify you right now.
no, they're good. Have at it.
They have to notify,
Yep,
they have to notify dispatch, at least that's who we seem to call.
Yeah, and if they don't, it's a Class C
But then
misdemeanor.
after June, they've got to call and get a permit.
They got to get,
And most, if not all the farmers are aware.
most of them are.
The big ones are aware of it.
Yes,
so.
there's been some fees handed out that they're all,
There is some exemptions
Made aware.
for farmers. If it's within 10 feet of a fence or dike, uncultivated irrigated grounds, you don't need a burn permit. But, so,
okay.
So backyard barbecues are okay or not?
they're fine,
Okay.
so.
I live in the city, so I don't know what the rule is there either.
I don't either.
I got to get this.
I just
So-
do my own thing.
No, but most of the farmers are, because they started implementing it last year,
Yep.
and they're mostly aware of it, so.
They were supposed to be doing it for a long time, but I don't know.
Yeah, the notification's been, for everything, but this new red flag warning, not burning on red flag warning kind of throws a wrench in everybody's lives.
So maybe one of the things you can tell me, from what I've been gathered from some of the farmers, is that red flag warning takes a large swath of Utah, not just Millard County.
Yeah, well, so.
We can get included with Sanpete County and maybe part of Sevier County, and the wind won't be blowing over here,
Yep.
but it'll be blowing over there, and our station, from what like I said, I don't know everything, but from what I understand, we don't necessarily have a station here. We're stationed with a different portion of the state, and they'll have a red flag warning because the wind is high there, and all of a sudden we have a red flag warning, and it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's as still as could be in Millard County or in Delta, and we're getting told we can't
Yeah.
burn.
So each county, well, the whole state's kind of spread up to weather zones, and pretty much our weather zone's the countywide. The other zone is from like Provence over to Scipio, that's in a different zone. So,
Okay. That's just one of the things I'd heard from some of the farmers. They were frustrated that they couldn't burn, but it seemed to be great.
yeah, I don't know how we fix that.
Okay,
So it's just how it is.
okay,
I get the farmer side of everything, so.
yeah,
But
okay.
Does that cover what you wanted, Trevor? Thank you. Yeah, I'm backing up him, so.
Okay. Appreciate it, thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank
guys.
you.
Okay, any other public input, or any public input? There's some nice days. It's not very often, but they are very nice when it occurs. When is the wind not blowing hard enough that you can burn? That's the question, okay? Any other business?
I need to talk to Casey, but Val's about golf course. Weren't we going to raise the golf course fees again this year? I was
You
thinking
mean next
that
year?
we
We
decided
raised them
that-
last year.
I was thinking we were going to do it annually, but I couldn't remember.
I don't know,
Till we
I went
got
golfing the other
close
day.
to-
It was definitely a lot more expensive than it's been.
I just know we're still cheaper over there than most golf courses are.
Because I remember we had talked about in that plan at every 2 years.
Every 2
reassessing
years?
that. That's what I
Okay.
remember. I could be wrong, but that's what sticks in my mind.
Okay, I knew we were going to come up gradually, but I couldn't remember how
Yeah,
often.
I agree.
it was.
I don't think it was supposed to be every year. I think it was gradually as well. We can look back at the budget work meeting
Okay.
notes. We have those recorded too.
Because if we need to raise them again this year, we need to do it
We
soon.
raised them last year, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I don't think we had a 2-year thing. I think that we thought we'd look at them again. I think what we thought we'd look at, of course, Casey's argument, we're gonna drive everybody away. As we raise them, we need to look at the participation versus a raise. If we haven't decreased participation, we probably got some more space. I mean, obviously, we don't want to get into the point that we don't have participants, and I think that's going to be the factor. We look at the number of rounds, and we raised them a couple bucks this
well,
year or something.
I think it'll drop
And-
off this year just because the
And if we
construction
don't, we
people are
might
leaving.
consider not to, but then we might, I don't know, but that's something at the end of the year.
I mean, we don't want to drive people away, but
Yeah.
we also need to be more in line with other golf courses.
Okay. Well, we can bring it up at our budget work meetings again
Okay.
and see where we're at. I had a couple of things. Richard Beckstrand had retired and he wanted to keep his used laptop. We'd already gotten him a retirement gift, but we're proposing that we let him take that and he just pay the taxable fringe benefit on it as an extension of his gift. Benefit tax $250. We had someone else come up with a value, so it's independent of him, of $250. So I just need to ratify that,
I would
or put
move.
it on for ratification next time.
So he'll pay $250 and then he can keep that?
No, we'll just gift it to him and then he'll pay the benefit tax on that
Okay.
$250.
Yeah, I'd like that.
I'd second that motion.
Okay. I'll make the motion to do whatever you said about giving the laptop to Richard.
Okay. And then the second item, we haven't opened the budget this year, which has been great, but there's become a need that we are going to need to do some adjustments for Justice Court for the directive from the Administrative Office of Courts for our judge. So we need to have that effective in July. So I'm thinking June we'll open the budget. So I'll get that advertised and we can take care of any other items at that time. So
And I won't be here the first
Any-
one in June.
the first one in June?
Yeah, I don't know if you need,
Okay.
if that'll.
Do you want to, we could do it the second one in
Okay.
June if you'd
Yeah,
like.
that's fine. I don't know.
And also, looking at the calendar, I think the first one in June's like the 6th.
It's the
I'm not sure.
third.
I didn't grab my phone, but. The 3rd.
3rd and 17th
Okay, so
are
the
when they're
3rd, so like the
scheduled.
cutoff, the way that the calendar lands, you're going to be setting a tax rate on the 17th as well. So there won't, with the way the values are coming in and that's how the
Have you
window
got all the
falls.
values yet?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. When you gonna get them, the 15th or?
No, they're due by statute on the 22nd, so I should have them this week. And then the centrally assessed values are supposed to be in Wednesday night of this week.
Okay.
But you have those values.
Those are preliminary. The final ones come out Wednesday night.
Will they be any different?
Probably not.
Okay. So, because
Yeah, I did-
I've already seen them.
Yeah, I contacted the Lucas Henderson, he's the, over that department, and just had him asked a couple questions, and I don't think they're going to change.
But by what date we have to have our commercial and our real property values?
The tax roll is May 22nd. which is
26th?
22nd.
Pretty soon.
Yep. So, all right, that's all I have, thanks.
Still into business?
Yes, still other business.
I don't know that we have a set procedure for this yet. When the state changed the requirements and code for subdivisions, they indicated that the applications were not supposed to go to a public body, but the public body that has to sign the plat still is this body. So I don't know that there's another really good way to do this. So, but basically, we do have a subdivision plat that is ready for signature. And what we've done, or what our process is at this point, is they turn in an application. We go through and ensure that it conforms with all the required provisions. This one doesn't include a road dedication. It's, or a part of a road dedication. And so it definitely comes to this body for that. It's very different than how we've done it historically, but this seems to be the new normal. So, and then I also have 2 conditional use permits which have been approved, and they've executed them and finally gotten them back to me. So we just need to have those executed, but they've been previously approved. So that's what I've got. This is for a subdivision located out.
So planning and zoning does not approve subdivisions anymore?
That is correct. Yep.
There was a focus on the fact that subdivisions are supposed to be administrative actions and not legislative, and what I think was tending to happen was you get a lot of public input on something where there really can't be public input because it has set rules and requirements and if you meet them, you're approved. So there was a major overhaul of the subdivision.
It was an absolute major overhaul.
Again, was that on that project?
Yes, it was. And that was also, that was statewide, so every county, every city, every town. So the process, it's, the acronym is LUDMA, but it's the Land Use Development Management Act. It is slightly different for cities versus counties, but the whole section's got redone, and they basically now prohibit these from being considered in a meeting for the public body or an appointed body. And so we redid our code so that it actually, we are following our own county code now as we do this. It's a little different. It makes it more critical for our subdivision ordinance to be current and for ensuring compliance with what we have. It is a lot faster, and that was a big push. They actually limit the review time. We haven't had an issue with that because we've had a relatively small number of subdivisions, and we have time to go through and look at these, but there's there are actually stipulations now where we have a very limited time to review them, and the back and forth is also limited on these for approvals.
I guess I don't have an opinion on whether it's good or bad, but this is a result of a bunch of developers in the legislature.
Exactly.
I think that's very accurate.
It
That's
might
where-
be good, who knows, but
So that
everybody in leadership in the legislature is a developer.
what we've done with process is, and Sierra was checking earlier to make sure, I think she stepped out, but the digital version goes to the recorder's office, and then after reviewing it, they also review or send it for review to the surveyor, which was mentioned earlier with the fees that are revised. So it gets looked at several times very carefully, and generally, I've never seen one come through without a number of corrections, and it's usually a couple iterations of going through that. So by the time this has been prepared, it actually has been looked at fairly carefully. What I generally am looking at is compliance with our zoning, lot size, lot width, right-of-ways and so forth, and then any required improvements that are specified. And then it doesn't give us near the leeway that we've had, and that's fairly deliberate on the state's part. They really intended to say, if you are going to allow anything to be developed, put the rules in place and then let them do it.
Play them to everybody.
Yep.
I do think the time constraints are limited to certain residential subdivisions.
They are.
I think generally,
Almost everything we do in the rural
the
is,
process is pretty much going to be consistent regardless of the type of subdivision. You just
That's
have a
true.
little more leeway if it's industrial or commercial.
yes, that's how I understand it as well from reading that. But most of our subdivisions have a rural, or in our rural areas are for a residence, so.
So
As
where's this
is.
one at, you got?
This one is, if you were to go out to 4,000 West that runs back past the cubing place and you head south, it's actually right at the south edge of the Hinkie subdivision that was developed. And so this is basically further subdividing one of those parcels that was from the Hinkie subdivision.
Is it across that dirt road to the south, or is it?
They are on the
It'd be
north
on the
side,
west.
north side of 3,500 South.
So what, how many lots is considered a subdivision?
Anything that's a division of property is
So two?
considered. Yeah.
Well, they were 5-acre lots, right? And now they're going to,
These are 1 acre lots now that they're ending up with. They had enough to create 3 individual lots. And they do have, they've got the water and the
They're doing,
power
are they doing
and
a
the gas.
common water or individual?
It's on culinary. It's actually out in Deseret.
It's off that
Oasis.
Desert Oasis
Has-
Special Service
okay.
District.
Has the water district approved
They've
it?
given a service letter
Okay.
indicating that they will.
Because I know before,
It's, one of the requirements is evidence of available services. So we're, yep.
when something was proposed to happen out there, they said that they had approval.
They've had a
and-
number that they have not approved.
Yeah.
Yep. In fact, that subdivision had, to the north, the other part had a commercial proposal. And they said that they were not prepared to serve those parcels. So, but anyways,
Need
this
to
is,
sign it?
this is basically, we need to have somebody sign it, and there's a few other signatures that need to be obtained as well before it's
That's
recorded.
Commissioner Johnson.
So,
Am I the only one?
Yep. You're the one.
You're the one.
this is one that's serious review.
You're the one.
I think Attorney Harris has to sign it too, doesn't she?
I think
Yeah, I
so.
think at least you, Attorney Harris.
Obviously, we don't have time to.
There's-
do this stuff too, that's why it's easier.
Anyway,
There's even
Pat
a place
always
on
went
here
and
for-
signed them.
What?
I say Pat always went and signed them.
Where it says, in the county commission.
Yeah, Bill, I think you and I both kind of feel the same way about state legislature right now. Kind of self-serving.
Excellent question.
This might be a good thing. What's happened is, I mean, you know, you
Don't
get
believe
neighbors
there
and so.
are,
some
but we
of
can,
the-
before we record it, before we get back to recording, we can check
Somebody's
that.
dogs put one on somebody's.
I'm unaware of any right there, but
This makes it consistent because you don't like.
that's one of the ones we can do. Because before I hand it back to them, we can,
So there's some really
double
good
check.
things with it.
Yeah.
But you are right, they're all black.
No, but they're all Schultz, Adams, they're all developed. They're all correct. They're all
Schultz owns like 27 companies.
21st.
Schultz is,
He has his own
I
jet.
don't even think he went to high school.
20th, I'm sorry, 20th.
Yeah, he has his own jet. He goes to Alaska about 4 times a year hunting bears. He has ranches all
He
over.
started his own construction company when he was 20.
Oh, yeah, he, you know,
And he was a millionaire.
he didn't mess with school. He's.
Commissioner Johnson,
Everything everybody would want.
could I also get these executed at the same time? Yeah. And this is,
But Vicki, the interesting thing
these
is
were
what he
the-
has.
these were
He's still
these were the
fairly-
amendments to the ACES
I mean,
Delta
he's
project.
still fairly.
So they're,
Yeah, he's
He
very,
hasn't lost these roots. I
well,
mean,
he seems pretty
obviously,
good.
there's a couple things that really gets in there, but
I just hope he
and
doesn't
so
say
we'll have to have Mark
something
test these also.
behind
no,
her.
he's pretty good. He recognizes people, he respects people. He don't, you know, the big lobbyists, he don't fall into their, well, you know, he don't need, he's kind of like.
Yeah.
The reason you
Be
can't
probably a good
affect.
conversation to have another time.
Yeah, he doesn't need
The reason.
Only loosely.
Almost most people. Everything's. Heck, the other guys don't. They need stuff. And so.
Usually, and I thought he was not.
It is at the corners of 4,000, or 4,100 West and 3,500 South. Yeah, 4,000 West, 3,500 South.
Just make them, they get a full ride.
That's why I'm thinking,
I'm virtually certain that there's nothing right there, but in an abundance of caution.
You said you were able to sit out there and listen.
I honestly, I don't care. I didn't know that's what it was.
my daughter,
I'm glad you threw that. And then you told him we didn't care. We didn't care whether he does the work.
Well, no, if he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't get his money. I don't care.
Oh, but you didn't say that part. You said we don't care. Said like
yeah, I
if
think they should have to work in or something.
No, that's it. If they don't like it, then don't come do it. I don't care. It's like, we're not gonna give you the money. Yes, that's what it meant, Bill. If you want to do it, come do it. If you don't want to do the service, you're not
the
gonna
way
get
you
the money.
kind of said it was, we'll
I was
give you the money,
confused too,
but
but I figured it out.
Were you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you said it's contingent on it.
Yeah. No, that's what I meant the whole time. Sorry.
that's that part. So
No,
how's Marquis doing?
no. Kylie's probably gonna be mad we didn't give all of it to him.
Just by getting, if they go to them, that's what they get.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. Okay. All right. Any other business? Okay. Do we have any sale of transfer property? Okay, Jacob.
So we were waiting on the Ford Escape to get its check engine light fixed. That has been done now, so it's asset 4495. We want to transfer that over to Delta, to the office over there.
Okay.
And we want to take the asset number 4346, the Ford Fusion, and actually assign it to Markey, since they don't have a vehicle over there, and Markey right now would be the one to utilize it the most, but allow them to share that at that building over there, since
Okay.
it's just an additional vehicle. So if we could get that approval.
I did talk to the attorney's office and justice court, and neither one of them was seeing the need to share it with me, so we'll just, I will share it if needed, but.
Yeah. So
I
anyway.
see a need.
Yeah,
Just a
we'd-
vehicle for over there.
Yeah, we'd like to just
People want
assign
it.
that vehicle to the clerk's office so that they can have a vehicle over there, so.
Okay.
So currently we're sharing with this building, and it's a little bit easier to have one at each building.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worked if we need to go that route.
I make a motion that we approve the transfer of the surplus property as Jacob mentioned.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, appointments to various boards.
So I don't have anything today, but just an FYI, Special Service District number 8 will be on the 17th for approval. I don't know if it's been done, as similar to the drainage district. I did tell you last commission meeting that I would find on bylaws and sent to you, and I had other more pressing things, so I'm working on that to give to you so that you can, update the boards that you're,
How many's on special service? 8.
I think there's 4 or 5.
You're not replacing them all, just,
They'll all need to be replaced.
how come?
As per the bylaws, I guess.
I'm sure it will need to be staggered, though, we'll have to look at the bylaws.
So you don't, because I had someone ask me, how come, I mean, that is unusual that we, they haven't did it, I know that, but that's unusual, you replace the whole board and don't have any
So
consistency.
as we set probably be staggered, appoint them all now, but stagger their terms so that they're not expired at the same time moving forward.
So we're going to kind of start over again.
It seems so,
Because I don't think anybody on that board's been replaced.
and that's the problem. So let's.
So, well, that's what I was thinking. So obviously, we should get to the normal, not wipe out everybody, or at least staggered. Shouldn't some of them be left on to get a little consistency?
I think the people who have expressed interest are all of their current members.
Okay.
So it's not they have to be replaced, right? It's if they decide they want to do it again and nobody else runs.
But in the future, it'd probably be a good idea to have the terms
stagger 'em.
staggered.
No,
If
yeah.
they appoint them all at once, some would be for the full 5-year or whatever the term is, and others would be half of that.
Yeah.
So that they just do it.
So is there any term limits in there, or they can,
I'm
okay,
pretty sure there is, I want to say it was 4. I read them all.
2 terms, or, well, that's the length of term, but is there a term limit? Can they serve 3, 4,
I
5?
know it was staggered, I think the term limit was 4 years.
So you'll find out and then let us know.
I'll be ready
Okay,
to tell you how much it's
all right.
And then, the Daysville West Rodeo has updated their, member list, but I'm not 100% sure if that is kind of commission or not. I'm assuming it does, just for, transparency, but.
That's a good question. I would like to have copies of all of the bylaws for all of the different departments.
And I don't think I have all the bylaws on file, but we can maybe reach out and I will work on that this time.
I don't know if all of them are going to have their bylaw, know of any bylaws.
This is a big job, Elise. We've been working on this for years, and it is really difficult.
So I think it's a good time to make sure everyone does have bylaws, and if they don't, I think it's pretty easy to come up with some, as far insofar as.
If they don't, they can go, the board's there, they can get a new set if you can't find them.
As far as the golf board goes, Casey told me that they kind of decided to come up with that when they're having a hard time keeping the groundskeeper or something, just to pacify them, and then that situation's no longer exists, so,
Well, we have committees that hasn't functioned for 15 years.
Yeah.
It's still,
And I've informed, Attorney Harris, sorry. I wanted to call you Elise, but then the previous attorney, Finlinson, was working on those and.
he was, he's
see
been
what
working.
ones- A lot of the boards were created for a funding purpose or as required by code or by law. So some of them cannot, even if they're, dormant right now, they cannot be dissolved.
We can't dissolve any of them, or?
Some of them you can't. Some
See,
of them-
as I look back, there's some that was created with a specific legislative function. They probably give us some money or something made available to get a resource. And to do that, like MEDA, we didn't have a MEDA board until they funded some to economic development. And then now you have to. But there's some other ag stuff in there. I know there's I don't know why, an ag protection board.
That one I believe is also required.
What's that?
I believe, I believe that one is also required.
See, but that thing hasn't functioned for 12 or 15 years, they haven't even met. So, okay, but we
I
need to
understand,
solve those problems.
we're working on it.
Okay,
We've given the attorney's office a list and we'll continue to bring this up at meetings until we're any board that you're over, if you could talk with them and then see if they have bylaws. If I don't have them, get a copy of those and then just keep their membership current so that we can put it, out to the public, so we have the correct information for that.
Right.
any settlement or deferral of delinquent property? Okay. Any discussion by commissioners, county attorney, elected officials, and secretary?
Not for me.
Okay, BOE? Nothing. County policies and contracts?
I don't think so.
You want to take this one?
Oh, no, sorry.
Discussion, not approval, but
Do you want to talk through it briefly, or do you want
I'm
me
gonna let
to?
you, because I am not so good on my.
Can I
words.
Can I just grab that from you
Yeah.
really quick then?
So effectively, the fee discussion that took place earlier for the municipal elections, that would be an attachment to this agreement. The same code section that Marky referenced regarding how you can't make a profit on an election says you should include your contracted amount within the contract. The other things this does is it just sets forth the obligations of the county and the city. Some of the changes that were made from the last time the county executed a similar agreement is just going to require a city official to attend certain meetings, or trainings.
Yeah, so the state highly recommended it as per all the legislative changes to have, because like I said earlier, it is the municipality's elections. We would just be contracted to conduct it for them. They highly recommended that a representative from each municipality who we contract with, who has an election, be present for our logic and accuracy testing of our machines, our post-election audit, which all three of you, well, two of you, usually have to be present. And then, they also be present for that, so that's been.
And then the other big change is just the date of canvassing. Obviously, every municipality has a set schedule for their municipal meetings, much like the county does, and this just asks that each of the municipalities have it on the same day, so all the returns can be ready for pickup at the same day, which would just require them to move one meeting or meet briefly for 10 minutes.
And that was required due to our cure letters. Legislative law changed that if we challenge a voter's signature, they have until noon the day before the canvass to be able to remedy that signature. And it just makes it easier if we're doing multiple multiple municipalities elections, that be the same so that we're not confused.
Just efficiency.
Yeah.
That's effectively the entire agreement.
Okay. Thank you.
So we would anticipate this would come back on probably the first meeting in June for ratification.
So I will send those out, and as I get the contracts back, we'll put them on for approval.
Okay.
Any questions? That was some tag teaming there to describe what was in that agreement.
Okay, any closed meetings?
No.
Oh, I have one other thing I just thought of. We talked about the pickleball courts, and I ran into Teresa in the store, and she's willing to do whatever she needs to make it work. So I don't know who needs to talk to her, but we need to.
I think she just needs to submit an application now under the county instead of the city.
Okay.
Do you want me to call her? I've talked to her before. Okay.
Because she did mention she needed to talk to you about it, so she'd know what to do.
Perfect.
Okay. I think we're done.
Move to adjourn.
Anybody that wants to stay around and talk about House Bill 444, it's going to be riveting. Don't laugh. I just spent 2 weeks doing it, so riveting is the word.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
We're adjourned. We don't need a second.